So, question for you, realtor, and I'm Dustin. I'm trying to sell my home. Okay, I'm thinking about. Let's
You're a homeowner that.
I'm a homeowner. The market's crazy. I've been in my home for 5-10 years. What should I do to get ready to sell my home? What from everything? I don't know. A home inspection. I don't know. I'm dumb. I've never sold a home before.
Well, if you're dumb, I might not have you as my client.
That's true. let's just say I'm not that dumb. Let's put it that way. But I've never sold a home. I have no idea what I'm doing, and I'm thinking about selling a home. But I say, Laura, I want to get top dollar for my home. I'm putting it on the market. Mm-hmm. What are some things I can do to be proactive, not only to sell my home fast, sell it for top dollar without having any hiccups?
Right. If you want top dollar, it's not even a question. You're going to have to be proactive.
Okay.
So the biggest thing is the house can look great. I tell my clients this all the time when they're shopping for homes. It might be aesthetically pleasing. Everything looks amazing. But what really matters, kind of like you were commenting on insulation earlier, the bones of the house and how well it was built, in my opinion, is what's really important. But that's me speaking as a real estate agent and being in this industry. And most people, if you've got a savvy buyer, especially it's usually the guys that go in and they're looking in the attic and the garage, or looking at the foundation and all of those big ticket items.
Okay.
And you want to make sure before the house ever even goes on the market that if there's any issue with any of those things, that the problem is remedied before it goes on the MLS.
Okay.
So, because if not, it's going to get found. It's not even an option. You're going to have to deal with it now or later. And in my opinion, I would deal with it now, because later it's going to end up costing you more money. You're going to have to come out of pocket for the repair, and you might even have to lower the price of the house to keep the buyer engaged with the deal.
Okay.
So if you can go ahead and I have all my sellers, I have them do a pre-inspection.
Okay.
Before
ever listing it?
Before ever listing it. Especially I'll walk around the house, put my eyes on things. I might see water stains on the ceiling. That could be minor or major. There's all different things that I might notice, but at the end of the day, I don't know the real story until I get the inspection report.
Okay.
So in the state of Texas, if you've had an inspection on a home within the past 4 years, right before you put it on the market, you have to disclose it.
Okay.
So on the seller's disclosure, the seller has to say, yes, I have an inspection report that was done 2 years ago, or even if it was a month ago, they have to disclose that. So usually you don't want to disclose that report, because basically what an inspection report is a guy comes in that is being paid to show you everything that's wrong with your house.
Yeah, that's what he's looking for, right? So he's going to find it, like you said.
I mean, I've seen some of the stuff I've seen listed on inspections is crazy, like a cracked outlet cover.
Yeah.
Things that, and it's not that big of a deal, but if you're about to buy a house and you get 50 pages of every imperfection on a home, it freaks buyers out.
Yeah.
So what I do is I tell sellers, you guys be as proactive as possible, and let's eliminate anything we possibly can from showing up on that report. And it's not about being dishonest or anything. It's like, why don't make the investment up front so that when somebody looks at your house, number one, it's more desirable.
Yeah.
And then more than likely you'll have people fighting over it. It's going to sell faster than your neighbor's home. But also, this is stuff that's inevitably going to come up, and it's better for it to be taken care of before the inspection report than for the buyer to feel like they're getting a lower quality of home, than when they find all this out during the inspection period.
Yeah, well, because it's kind of, so like we'll use it we care about visual. When you take a selfie, how many do you go through till you get the one, right? Mm-hmm. So it's visual. And so, I mean, I know me, if I see you working on something, I'm like, what's wrong with it? And so then I'm automatically just crediting everything else. So even if you fixed it, now I have to make sure it's fixed properly.
It's a red flag for a potential buyer.
Yeah.
They see there's something wrong. Something's wrong, and we don't know if it's being repaired top notch, or is it just being kind of, just patchwork quilted?
Right.
I see that a lot.
So you would recommend me getting an inspection for my entire house?
Yeah, and you don't just get an inspection. If you get a full-blown inspection, if you call an inspector and say, I want to get an inspection on my house, I'm thinking about selling it, a lot of them are going to charge you full price. They're going to come do a full inspection. And now you are legally liable to disclose that inspection.
Everything that happened.
So what you want to do is get a pre-inspection.
Okay.
So you'll call the inspector out. They do a pre-inspection. It's a little bit, it's more of like a general overview of the home. They're not really combing through it for all the defects. But it'll alert you to any big problems that need to be fixed. Anything that would really be a deterrent for a buyer. And like I said before, this pre-inspection does not involve the roof. And we know that the roof is going to be an issue. Once somebody goes under contract, it's like 9 times out of 10, they're going to get that roof checked. So I like my sellers to call their roofer out and check the roof and fix anything that could possibly be wrong. Fill in any of the leak-prone areas, seal everything, replace missing shingles, repair flashing, whatever needs to go on. I mean, I've seen stuff where the chimney's pulling away from the house and everything else, and the seller has no idea until the house goes under contract, and now we've got a $10,000 chimney repair, and it's make or breaking the sale. So I always have them do this proactively before we even think about alerting the neighborhood or the neighbors or anybody that's going on the market.
And so what was in for me? So I love it. I get it done. Now all of a sudden I'm being proactive. I had a roofer come out. Hey man, I'm trying to sell. I'm thinking about selling this. I have an inspection. So I get all those things fixed. So the next thing would be, okay, so now the inside's fixed. And I say insides, I'm talking structure, foundation, roof. How important is curb appeal to getting it sold, right? Like the paint on the outside, the colors, maybe the inside, but how important is it for curb appeal? And is there anything you recommend? Because that inspection is going to kind of go to the integrity of my home.
Correct.
Right. But what about curb appeal? I'm talking like my lawns, my paint, colors. Yeah. Is there anything you recommend I prepare for that? Because if I'm going to be listing it.
Well, curb appeal really falls into 2 different categories. You have the aesthetic part of curb appeal. And even that you can dissect a little further. Some buyers are real big on curb appeal. That's like a deal breaker for them. And some of them are like, hey, if the house has everything I want, but the front elevation isn't that great, I'm okay with it. So the aesthetic of it is, the elevation and all that, that's part of the curb appeal. But then you have the maintenance part of curb appeal. Yep. So if the exterior paint is peeling or the gutters have literally have flowers growing out of it. Yeah. Or, the roof is stained. A stained roof is a big deterrent. Yeah. I mean, that just makes a house ugly in general. Yeah. All of those matter. So, of course, before putting it on the market, you want to do that and get those all fixed up nice. But the yard is a big deal. You can take the yard and the landscaping, the sidewalk, the driveway, whether you have a driveway that's all unlevel or if it's nice and clean and level. How you have the beds of your landscaping, how they're bordered. Yeah. All of that. Your exterior light fixtures is a big deal. Huge deal. Can take a house that's not even that great and you invest in some landscaping and you put some nice pretty exterior fixtures on there, paint the front door, put nice hardware on the front door. There's so many things that go into when a buyer or just someone in general looks at the front of a home or a home in general. They don't really break down why it looks good or bad. They just say it looks good or bad.
Yeah, it's like a feeling.
They know if they're attracted to it or not.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I do. And, I train my clients. I learned this from a training I took years ago and I thought it was invaluable. When I'm pulling up to a house to do a listing consultation, of course I'm busy. I work 7 days a week. Sometimes till midnight, I'm going on no sleep and my phone's going crazy. But when I pull up to a listing consultation, I'm putting my phone on do not disturb and I'm looking at everything about that house as I'm walking to the front door. I'm noticing the driveway and the sidewalks. I'm noticing how many trees are in the yard, where the roots of the trees are going, what type of tree is it. I'm looking at the paint, the bricks. One of the most common areas of a home where you'll see the facade of the house is kind of compromised, so to speak. Yeah. Anywhere, if you have like a brick arch around your front door, if you have a front porch, it's like kind of having a balcony. There's more room for air. There's more things that can go wrong with that. So I'm paying attention to all of those things. And a lot of times all the house needs is a little facelift.
Yeah.
Power wash the gutters, power wash the sidewalk, paint the front door. You can get your front door painted for like $200 with a good Sherwin-Williams exterior paint. Put new hardware on there. I had a client ordered some hardware from Wayfair. It was like $100. At the end of the day, it cost them like $350 to completely make over their front door.
It looked like a new house.
It changed. Yeah, it looked like a completely different house.
And so that will affect of how much you're going to list your home for.
Yeah. So I tell people, I have to have this conversation with almost every single seller. You're going to make upgrades. You're going to maintain your home. You're going to make upgrades and updates. That doesn't mean that dollar for dollar, you can just tack everything you spent onto the price of the home and completely recoup those funds. But there's always a range that you can price your home on. It's a spectrum.
Yep.
And you can't just price it anything you want, because if someone comes along that's financing the home, the lender's not going to give them a loan unless the house appraises correctly. And the house appraises based on the comps and the surrounding sales. So there's going to be a point where you're going to cap out on what you can try to ask for that house. And the price that the house goes on the market for, list price, especially right now with the market being crazy and people fighting over homes, I've got buyers saying, well, I don't want to pay over list price. And I say, you have to understand something. Remember this when you're looking at houses. The list price, that's an asking price.
Yeah,
like,
that's it. It's negotiable.
It's a free country. You can ask whatever you want for a house.
Might not get it, but you can ask.
Yeah, I can take a house that's really worth $200,000. I can put it on the market for $1 million if I want.
Yeah.
Right. So when you list a house, it's an asking price. It's a starting point for negotiations. And that's why when the market's hot, if a seller wants to take advantage of that, they'll put the house on the market. They'll put a price tag on it and say, all right, if people want to fight over it, they can fight over it, and may the deepest pockets win. So, you can price, but I'm kind of speaking to how the market is right now, and it's crazy. It's not going to stay like this forever. Yeah. When it balances out, and when you're already in a balanced market, if you have all of these little extras done to the house and you've spruced it up, and for the most part, it's very aesthetically pleasing and it's clean, you can price on the high end of the spectrum and you're going to sell quick.
Well, and people are probably going to nitpick you. Like me, if I look at a house, right, and I see that, like you said, like the cabinets are a little outdated. The paint's older. The driveway hasn't been pressure washed. The paint's, maybe it's not chipping, but you just tell it's older. The garden's not upkept and bushes aren't kept. If I look at that house and you're asking $400,000, I'm probably gonna offer you $360, $375.
It happens all the time.
But if your house looks nice and it's next to each other and you're asking $425, I'm probably gonna pay the $425, if not a little less. So you might not get dollar for dollar. Let's just say you put $20,000.
Well, it's all about presentation and first impression.
Yeah,
I tell them all the time, and it's how it is with everything. Anything that somebody's spending money on, I don't care what it is. I mean, it's like, using the car reference. If you go to look at a car you're thinking about buying, even if it's a little bit older model, if it's in pristine condition,
you like it,
someone's going to pay for it.
Yeah, exactly.
But you can take something that's brand new or it's only a year old and it's just been trashed, and now the value just has significantly decreased. So it's just one of those things. I mean, I've seen houses. I was in a house a few months ago. It was in an older, more established neighborhood, and it had the original appliances from like 1979. They had been
like
and
the
they
orange
had
and the green.
Yes,
yeah.
But the house had been done in a real retro decor.
Yeah.
And the appliances fit in, and they in a way were restored. And the inspector was like, "Look, the oven, I put my thermometer in this oven. If it heats up to where it's supposed to be in a certain amount of time, it passes inspection.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter that
It's
the
good
oven's
to go.
1979.
Yeah. Maybe somebody likes that.
Yeah.
Right.
And, we've got the buyer's like, well, I'm going to have to replace the oven. And the seller's like, no, you don't, because it passed inspection.
Yeah.
So the seller's like, I'm not responsible for it. It works. And so you'll run into, things like that all the time. And that's where, being a realtor that's trained and and certified in negotiations, it definitely helps because you got to kind of help everybody navigate those emotions where somebody wants something that the other person thinks is ridiculous. That's for me on a daily basis.
Yeah, that's what we have to deal with.
Yeah.
How important, so I always I'm not looking to buy or sell right now, right? But I'm trolling social media and I see like a fire photo of a real estate home. How important is that? Because you go to some listings and they just got just garbage photos, and
It's everything.
Is that how bad does that
everything.
affect you? Do you notice that?
Absolutely. Well, it's one of the things I spend the most money on.
Really?
Oh yeah. People have no idea the overhead that a realtor has to spend to get a house on the market. So by the time you get photos, and the MLS lets us put up to 52 photos. So I call a photographer out there. They get the photos. How many do I want to pay for to be edited? And the other thing you have to remember is the majority of these photos, this is not like an illegal thing, but a lot of the photos, they've had blue sky dropped in, photoshopped in. If the yard is patchy, you could even have the yard can be full of weeds. They'll Photoshop in perfectly green grass. That's why I always tell everybody you have to see it in person. But photos can really make a house look absolutely amazing, even when it's not that impressive in person.
Makes a great first impression though if you're trying to buy or sell.
Yeah, it's everything. I'll tell you a funny story. A few years ago, I had someone contact me and off of a listing I had in my main market area, and she said, I'm interested in buying a house in Sugar Land. I said, all right, awesome. I start working with her. Well, she had a house in another part of town that she had already committed to her friend to let them list the house.
Okay.
Right. So
you can already see how this story is going to go.
Yeah, I'm not real fond of these situations because I fiercely protect my client, and I don't like this because I'm out of control of like a huge portion of the whole situation. So I said, all right, awesome. I'll represent you as the buyer, but she couldn't buy the house she wanted without selling this one first.
Oh.
So this listing agent was her friend listing for a discount, and you could tell it was a discount, right? So the listing agent went in, got the lowest quality photos possible. I swear she didn't even move, like if there was a glass or a plate on the kitchen counter, she didn't even move it for the photos. So I go see this house. I'm like, why is this house not selling? It's amazing.
Yeah.
It was on a gorgeous street, on a cul-de-sac, beautiful backyard. Everything about the house was amazing. Even it was, it wasn't 100% current, but the house was just kept perfectly. The couple that lived there for 15 years, they didn't have any kids, so there was like no wear and tear. The upstairs was like brand new. The husband was out of town all the time. It was just a very lightly lived in house. And I was like, this house should be selling. It had these gorgeous oak trees in the front yard. I was like, the photos aren't doing it justice. You're not getting nobody's coming to look at the house because the photos are horrible.
Yeah.
So I was like, I got to get this house sold because I need her to buy this other house. She needs to buy this other house. So I called the listing agent. She was on vacation.
Of course.
Out on a lake.
Permanent.
She finally answers her phone. I said, listen, we've got a mutual client. I'm representing her on the buy side. I need this house to sell. Yeah, well, whatever, I'm on the lake. I said, can I ask you something? If I pay for it, do you mind if I get some photos done? She said, yeah, whatever you want. I went in there with my assistant. We cleaned out that house, staged it. I helped my client pack, get away all the clutter. I had it perfectly ready to go, yard manicured, everything. I had my professional photographer come in, get the photos done. She gave me her info so I could go in and upload these photos. That house had a contract in 3 days.
How long had it been on the market before then?
It was like months.
Months.
Yeah, like 6 months. It was just sitting there.
It's the same house.
Same exact house.
3 days.
She was like, I can't believe it. She was like, the second you changed the photos, they got like 15 showings in 1 week.
Yeah, it's like clicking. But like if you're on a dating website and you put your worst photo on there,
100%.
and then you're wondering why you're single and can't get a date. Well, it's like stop kind of catfish people. You got to put your best foot forward.
I just read an article like 2 days ago. And it was like they were interviewing an agent that was in California, and he was comparing the listing photos to like being on a dating app.
Yeah, I would think.
They're like, do you want the customer to swipe right
Well,
or left.
I find myself earlier. I was clicking on a home. I was like, damn, that's nice, and it was because of the photos. And like, there's a guy on my Facebook. He's always posting like really really nice photos
Right.
of, and it's not that the house is nice. It's that the photos are nice.
Yeah.
So I click, I mean, every time I catch myself, I always laugh. I'm like, hey, great marketing.
Yeah.
Now
Marketing is everything.
It is. And it's,
Jay Weiss.
yeah, a little plug. We got Sherman Williams plug in there and a Jay Weiss plug. So the one other thing, because I'm a huge advocate of this, how important is it to your client that you're active on social media?
I mean, you could say that comes down to the client's preference.
Okay.
It also depends on the client, because I've had some pretty high profile clients before, and they they almost do it as a private listing.
Yeah.
But for the most part, for the general population, I mean, they want their house to sell quickly. I always tell everybody, you might be haggling over $3 or $5 grand, but at the end of the day, if the house sits on the market for another month, you're going to pay that $3 or $5 grand.
All
So
day,
just
yeah.
cut it loose, you know.
Yeah.
But as far as the realtor themselves having what I consider a digital footprint and having an online presence, I mean, it's obviously very important. You want to have, whenever the listing goes live, as soon as it gets put out, you want to know that they're marketing it and getting it in front of as many people as possible.
Yeah.
This past year, I did the most pocket sales that I've ever done, just because the market was a little bit different than it normally is. The world was different. But and because of that, new laws have been put in place. You could market a home as coming soon for like a week or two before it hit the market, and now it's like 24 hours.
Oh, wow.
So just because there's ways for realtors to be unethical and manipulate the situation when they take advantage of the coming soon status. But for the most part, I mean, you know, it's also a way for a potential client or a customer to go and vet the realtor to see, you know, because your realtor is representing you.
Yeah.
So you want to see what that realtor's presence in the community looks like.
Yeah.
So, and one of the best ways to do that now is you look at their social media.
Yeah. No, it's huge. And so what I learned today, I need to get pre-inspection, make sure get all my stuff checked, make sure it's good to go. Then almost a cosmetic, I guess you would call it like a facelift or a makeover.
Correct. Spruce it up.
Yeah, like doing my yard.
A little bit of
stuff.
effort goes a really long way.
Yeah, clean up the inside, make sure showing, get good photos. Obviously,
make sure your realtor is taking professional photos, and make sure they're using a really good company. There's a handful of really good photographers and photography companies in Houston.
Yeah.
And when you're doing a luxury listing, especially, you need photos to really represent that listing. And those photos, I mean, by the time they're all done and you've got the property video and the virtual tour and all of that, I mean, you're spending upwards of almost $2 grand sometimes.
So you're probably spending, just to get it listed, you as a realtor are spending $2-3 grand to get it listed for a client.
Oh, all day long.
And then, but what I like, you know, maybe you're telling a story, so you need to have a realtor tell a story. It sounds like, I mean, I can go half-ass my listing and throw it on there, and maybe I get 350 because the market's hot. If I use a realtor that goes above and beyond, maybe I'll put a little money in. I could get 4 or 450. It doesn't. It just seems like there's a big.
I mean,
difference.
obviously, your appraisal's going to come into play.
Yeah.
But this is why, you know, with my agents and with myself, I'm a broker, but I also consider myself a real estate consultant. I say this over and over. I sit down with somebody and I'm like, I look at the entire rainbow of your life, and I look at everything, and we're going to talk about all of it as much as you're willing to talk about it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you what I think is worth you fixing up or investing money in, whether it's a little or a lot. I have this form. I developed it myself. The agents in my brokerage have access to it too. But it's called property recommendation form.
Yeah.
And I meet with the listing. I'll meet with the seller, and then I make my recommendations. This is what you need to fix. This is what you need to do before it goes on the market. These are the rooms you need to stage. I tell them everything. This is where you need to price it. I even will put down to like the dollar what you need to price it. If they go against my recommendations and they go against my advice, that's okay. But I've got it documented and signed by myself and my client that I want it in writing that you're going against my advice.
Yeah.
And I've never had it be wrong. So, sometimes somebody they balk at being like, well, I'm about to sell the house. Why would I fix it up? I'm not even going to get to enjoy what I spent the money on. And it's just like, well, do you want the house to sell in 1 day or 1 month, or do you want it to sell in
or
6
months like the other one? Well, and for me, if I go to buy, I don't know, a car, house, it doesn't matter, and someone is proactive with, it's got a new roof, I've checked the foundation, here it is, I updated all the paint,
it's packaged with a bow on top.
I'm like, okay, this guy's, well, to me, it could be completely false, but it's just a testament of how you took care of the house.
It's all about how well the home has been maintained.
It's telling a story.
It's everything.
And I laugh because so obviously close with Jonathan J. Weiss Marketing, and crazy story is that we're looking to get an office here, and we deal with realtors on a daily basis, especially in Dallas. Like, we have a ton of great realtor partners in Dallas, and obviously as we're coming to the Houston market. But what I thought was so funny was that I'd never worked with you on that level,
right?
And so you were trying to help us find an office, and you 30 minutes on the phone were asking me questions like, what was my favorite color? Am I left-handed, right-handed? I was like, wait, what? Like, I mean, and it was that, but like, what's your favorite food? I was like, wait, what?
Well, what's your lifestyle? What do you do on a daily basis?
Everything. And I was like, I immediately got off the phone, and mind you, we deal with, thousands of realtors, all the time. And there's phenomenal realtors in DFW, and some of them
Dallas
do
has
this.
a great real estate market.
But I was like, oh my God, I immediately texted Jonathan. I was like, hey bro, your wife's amazing. I've never had that
thank
happen.
you.
I never had that.
He didn't tell me this.
Yeah, I was like, man, that was amazing. it was so detailed from a client perspective it was so detailed. I was like,
that's what I have to do to represent you to the best of my ability. I have to know everything about you as much as you're willing to share.
But a lot of people don't do that.
If you tell me I go to Starbucks 3 times a day, then I'm going to be like, you'd probably love the office that you're walking to. Starbucks.
It's above a Starbucks I'm in. And so I was just, wow, that's a lot that goes into it. So we got all that. And, just last thing, is there anything you'd add? Anything else that maybe, a client could look for, do, maybe something that you do differently, just anything you want to end it on, talk about that, a client, super important.
Yeah. I mean, that could go on all day, but if I were to focus on the one main thing that I think we do differently, I say we because I have a team.
Yeah.
I started as a lone ranger when I first got into real estate. And in order to service my clients, I have a team. My assistant I'm always like, I just told her yesterday, I would propose to you if I could.
Yeah.
I don't want you to ever leave me.
Out.
I've got, transaction coordinator, I've got buyer's agents. And when I've got a boutique firm, and everybody in the firm, I'm real picky about culture. So anybody that's in our brokerage we all share the same work ethic, and we take care of each other. If one of us goes out of town, we take care of the client and everything. But when you're looking for a realtor, a lot of it depends on the market area, but look for one that really, like I said before, has a concierge level of service. To give you an example, I have a client under contract right now on a house, and there's something that within the first few days of going under contract, the HOA, they send you a link and you've got to pay for a resale certificate, or nobody's closing on the house, and it has to be paid, and it's usually the buyer that pays it. Well, it comes through in an email. It's usually a link that you have to click. It's kind of confusing. It's a little clunky. It's not
That's
the
something
easiest.
You're looking for.
Yeah. And if they don't pay that, it gets down to a day where they've got to pay a rush fee, and the rush fee is like $300 to $500. And end of the day last night, I had like a 15-hour day yesterday. It was a crazy day. And I got on the phone with her. I was so exhausted. I was losing my voice. And I was like, I've got to make sure that you pay this, And she was like, all right. I stayed on the phone with her. She dug through her email. She found it. I was like, I want to make sure you're looking at the same thing I'm looking at. She's like, all right, I got it. I'll take care of it tonight. First thing I did, I texted my assistant, put it in. We've got a task management software that we use. And I was like, first thing tomorrow morning, I want you to follow up on this and make sure it's paid 8 a.m. because I don't want my client getting charged that rush fee.
Yeah.
It's just little things like that. And yeah, I'm super busy. I'm not just a realtor. I'm running a business. I'm married to an entrepreneur, and I've got kids and everything else going on. And I love what I do. Otherwise I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
But it's those little things where myself and my team, we go over and above to make sure that that coverage is taken care of for our clients, and it makes a world of difference.
That's a huge difference. I mean, all this, what I found and what I is, if I'm listening as a consumer, is that one, don't do any of this stuff on your own, and go with your real. If you're gonna go find a realtor you trust, and go with their people, and trust that, do the due diligence on them, and let them do the rest. Because if I'm doing listen, I gave up at yard when you told me to redo my yard. I'm out, so I need somebody else to do that. But it's just something I never would have thought of. Right? It's not like, oh, is that really going to make a difference? No one cares. But it just sounds to me, if I'm going to do this, thinking about selling a home, thinking about buying, get a realtor you trust.
Yeah, a competent realtor.
And go with it. That's
absolutely.
That's
same with roofers.
Yes. So. Get you a good roofer, and I happen to know one.
And I've already got some deals to get you on now.
And I got a great marketing company too. Yeah. So they're great.
Same.
So that's all I got.
Well, it was amazing talking today.
Virtual bump. Yeah.
And next time, I know we're brainstorming, but I'm hoping I'm actually going to be on a roof with you.
Hey, look, I was threatening you with a good time. I'm hoping you'll get on the roof with us. If you're not scared, we'll get on the roof.
No, I'm not. Now, my husband, fear of heights. It's so funny that he even represents roofing companies, because he can't even get on a ladder, I don't think.
So funny story. I own a roofing company, and I'm scared of heights. And so
really, I was going to ask you that earlier, and I thought surely no way.
Definitely afraid. Like just recently, I got on roller coasters for the first time. When I say recently, like the last maybe 3 years. Definitely afraid of heights.
I'm not a fan of roller coasters.
I couldn't do it. First time I ever got on a roof, or attempted to. The ladder was against there, and I was shaking, like shaking, almost having a seizure, and I couldn't get up there. And I was definitely afraid.
So a roofing guy that's scared of heights, that's just like, sounds like a comedy skit. Like,
you would think I mean, I don't clown show, shit show, but a scare. Like, I'm the guy that when I get to a certain height and I get close to the window, you start feeling a little, and I start getting a little wheezy. But I get on the roof and I'm like, okay, what am I doing up here? But then it's just that fear of like, okay, I'm not going to negotiate with myself. I'm just going to do it. And now it's just crazy because it was. But I was like.
So are you comfortable with it now?
I'm comfortable now, but sometimes I look down. I'm like, okay. But yeah, it's definitely afraid of heights and own a roofing company.
Oh my God. All right. Well, then I'm definitely looking forward to getting on the roof.
Yes, I can look forward.
That'll be fun.
Sweet. I can't wait.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks. That was fun today.